All right, today we're going to take a tour of the bustling, totally secret world that's living inside of you. We are going to meet the helpful partners, the lazy freeloaders, and, well, the tenants straight out of a horror movie. So, let's dive right in.
You know, we tend to think of our bodies as, well, ours. Our own private property, right? We feed them, we clothe them, we take them to the gym. But what if I told you that you're not actually the only resident? That you're way more of a landlord than a sole occupant?
Yep, that's right. Just think of your body as a house. You own it, sure, but you've got tenants. And some of them are just fantastic. You know, they mow the lawn, they fix leaky sinks. They're great. Others, well, let's just say others are cooking up some trouble in the basement and generally making a mess of the place. So today, let's go meet your tenants.
Okay, first up, let's talk about the good guys. And these aren't just harmless roommates. No, these are essential partners that actually help you live a happy, healthy life. And this kind of relationship has a name. Mutualism.
Mutualism is pretty much a biological win-win situation. These tiny little organisms get a safe place to live inside of us, and in return, they perform all these services that are absolutely vital for our survival. And when I say we have a lot of these partners, I mean we have a lot.
So look at that number. That is 100 trillion. It is a number that is almost impossible to really wrap your head around, but that's how many microbes are living inside you pretty much at any given moment. And to put that into perspective for you, the number of your own actual human cells, you know, the ones with your DNA, is somewhere around 10 trillion. That means for every single one of your cells, there are 10 bacterial cells just along for the ride. You aren't just a person, you are quite literally a walking ecosystem.
So what are all these 100 trillion tenants doing to earn their keep? Well, they are busy. They help us break down food we can't digest on our own, they make essential vitamins available for our bodies to use, and they even help train our immune system on what to attack and what to leave alone. It's actually why some scientists are now calling the microbiome our forgotten organ, because for centuries we didn't even know it was there. And now research is linking it to absolutely everything, from our mood to our risk for certain diseases. It's incredible.
But, you know, not all tenants are actively helpful. Some of them are just there. They're not causing any trouble, but they're not exactly paying rent either. These are kind of the meh tenants of your body.
This is called commensalism. Basically, one organism benefits, it's getting food or shelter or a free ride, while the other one is totally unaffected. It's the biological equivalent of that friend who crashes on your couch, eats your snacks, but is quiet enough that you kind of forget they're even there.
And a perfect, if slightly creepy example of this is the eyelash mite. And yes, you have them. We all do. These tiny little arthropods live at the base of your hair follicles, especially on your face, and they just munch on the oils that your glands produce. I know, it sounds a little gross, but honestly, they don't harm you in any way. They're just hanging out. So, you might as well get used to them.
All right, we've met the good tenants and the meh ones. Now it's time to venture into the basement and meet the tenants that you absolutely, positively do not want. So steel yourselves. It's about to get weird.
And a fair warning, as our sources put it, be advised the rest of this is moderately gross. So if you're squeamish, or if you happen to suffer from delusional parasitosis, which is a real condition where people believe they're infested with parasites, maybe consider this your final exit ramp.
Okay, so let's talk about parasitism. This is a purely one-sided relationship. The parasite benefits by actively harming its host. That's you. They sneak in, they set up camp, and they just live at your expense, sometimes with absolutely devastating consequences. So these unwanted guests can be organized into a few main groups. We've got the single-celled protozoans, we've got the notoriously awful worms, the external crawly bugs, and the final category that our sources call, in a very non-scientific but highly accurate term, freaky stuff.
Let's just start with a protozoan, Naegleria fowleri, but you probably know it as the brain-eating amoeba. Yeah. It's found in warm, fresh water, and this little single-celled organism can wiggle its way up your nose, travel to your brain, and then it begins feeding on your nerve tissue. The result is almost always fatal. We're talking a 98% mortality rate. It's a terrifying reminder to always boil your neti pot water.
Next up on our tour of terror, worms. So, some parasitic roundworms, which are transmitted by mosquitoes, can cause a disease called Elephantiasis. These worms get in and block the body's lymphatic system, which leads to this horrifying extreme swelling of limbs and other body parts. It is one of the leading causes of permanent disability worldwide. Just awful. Then, of course, you have the crawly bugs.
These are your external parasites, like bedbugs, scabies, and lice. And while they are far, far less likely to kill you than the internal parasites, they are incredibly unpleasant. In fact, just talking about them can sometimes make your skin crawl, which, as we mentioned earlier, is a very real psychological phenomenon.
And finally, we arrive at the freaky stuff. First, the botfly. It lays its eggs under your skin. The larvae then hatch, they feed on your tissue, and they grow until they are ready to erupt out of you. And then there's the candiru, a tiny parasitic catfish from the Amazon that is attracted to urine. So if you happen to relieve yourself in the wrong part of the river, it can swim up your urethra and lodge itself with these sharp little spines, which require surgery to remove. As our sources say, this is pure nightmare fuel.
So, after that horrifying tour, let's just pull back for a second and think about the big picture here. How do we even begin to manage this incredibly complex internal world that we're all carrying around?
So your body is a house filled with tenants, and the goal really is to cultivate the good ones, like your gut microbiome, because they're absolutely essential for your health. And while modern sanitation and clean water have been total game changers in the arms race against parasites, protecting us from the worst of them, avoiding the bad ones is still, pretty crucial.
And that just leaves us with a final kind of lingering thought. You are an entire ecosystem. You're a walking, talking biome, teeming with trillions of different organisms. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it, as you go about the rest of your day, who exactly are your tenants?